Hello Daily Drafters and welcome to the Wilds of Eldraine pre-release guide here on the channel, designed to get you ready for your pre-release events this weekend. This video will be full of useful information for beginners to seasoned veterans, whether this will be your first ever pre-release or if you're looking for Wilds of Eldraine specific information to make sure you're on top of your game at your LGS. If you're looking for a deep dive into every single draftable archetype in the set, check out my archetype guide with a link in the upper right hand corner visible right now. You can also find a link to that video in the description, as well as a link to part 1 of my set review, which covers the new and returning mechanics in the set. But for those of you here for the pre-release content, whether you're new here or you've been here a while, stay tuned for the ultimate guide in helping you crush your Wilds of Eldraine pre-release. Now, to start, some of you might be asking yourself, what exactly is a pre-release? Well, each year there are roughly 4 main set releases of Magic the Gathering products, and most local game stores run what's called a pre-release for each of these main set releases. Essentially, you battle it out against your friends and strangers using several booster packs of the brand new cards for the upcoming set that has yet to be released, hence the name pre-release. If this sounds interesting to you, let's take a step-by-step look at how exactly these events are run. Step 1. Locate your local game store. In order to participate in a pre-release event, you will need to locate one. If you do not already have a local game store that you frequent, I've included a link in the description to a website that will help you find a game store running a pre-release event near you. Now that you've found where you'll be participating, it's time to get registered. Usually stores will run events all weekend, maybe one on Friday, 2 on Saturday, and 1 on Sunday. Just go ahead and check with your LGS to see when these events are happening and which one you would like to attend. Be sure to note that sometimes these events can fill up fast, so you may need to pre-register to ensure you have a spot. It just depends on your store. Other times, you can just walk in and register on the spot. Be sure to find out what is best for your situation. Now that you're registered, it's time for the fun part. When it's time to start the event, you will get handed a pre-release pack like the ones on your screen now. For this set, there is only one pre-release pack that you can receive. In other sets, sometimes you have a choice, but for Wilds of Eldraine, we've got just the one. Now that you've got your pack, when the event begins, you will be instructed to open your pack and begin your deck build. It varies from store to store, but usually you will have about 50 minutes or so to build your deck and get ready for your matches. Let's take a look at what you will find when you open your pack. Inside, you will find one traditional foil rare or mythic rare from Wilds of Eldraine with a year stamp. And here's an example of what that card might look like using a rare from the last set, Lord of the Rings. 6 Wilds of Eldraine draft boosters, 2 token cards, 1 20-sided spin down die, and 1 MTG Arena code card. We've got it pretty easy this time around. This is about as simple as it gets when it comes to the contents of a pre-release pack. The only thing I did want to mention was that the additional quote-unquote 2 token cards. There aren't any details explaining what exactly these token cards will be, but my best guess is that they will be the role tokens you'll see running throughout the set. There seems to be 2 per card, and I'm assuming that at least one of them will be front and back. Again, I don't know for sure, but that's my best guess. The last thing I wanted to mention about the contents of your pre-release kit is the collation of the 6 Wilds of Eldraine draft boosters you will receive. We've seen what some call a flex spot or a bonus sheet in many recent sets, cards like the Mystical Archive in Strixhaven, the retro artifacts in the Brothers' War, and most recently the Multiverse Legends in the March of the Machine, and that slot returns here in Wilds of Eldraine with the Enchanting Tales, a group of 63 fan-favorite enchantments which will have their own individual slot in booster packs, meaning that there will be exactly one of these 63 cards in every single pack. These cards will have their own unique set symbol, and they will be legal to include in your Wilds of Eldraine sealed deck. That's right, have you always wanted to include Parallel Lives, Doubling Season, and Primal Vigor in the same sealed deck at your local pre-release? Well, if you're lucky enough to open all 3 in your 6 boosters, have at it. Note that none of these Enchanting Tales will become legal in Standard, they will simply remain legal in whatever formats they are currently legal in. Each Wilds of Eldraine draft booster will contain 1 rare or mythic, 3 uncommons, 9 commons, 1 land card that has a 33% chance to be a full art land card, and 1 card from the Enchanting Tale slot, which is guaranteed to be an uncommon or higher, and if it happens to be a rare or mythic Enchanting Tale, then yes, your booster could contain up to 2 rares or mythics. For those of you that participated in the Lord of the Rings pre-release event a few months ago, you may have noticed that the price to enter the event was a little higher than you might have been used to, sometimes up at 40 or 50 US dollars. Well, good news, Wilds of Eldraine pre-release pricing should be returning to its normal 25 or 30 US dollar price point this time around. Now, I emphasize should because at the end of the day, each LGS has the right to charge whatever they want to for these events, but 25 or 30 US dollars is probably going to be the running average. Alright, we now have everything we need to begin our deck build. If you'd like to see an example of a Wilds of Eldraine sealed deck build, stick around until the next segment where I will build an entire sealed deck on screen for you to follow along with. Also, you can tune into the channel this Thursday, August 31st at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for a YouTube live stream of gameplay from this set as I once again participate in the Wilds of Eldraine streamer event on MTG Arena. And I will also be having a YouTube live stream here on the channel on Wednesday, August 30th, the day before, beginning at 9 a.m. Eastern, where I plan to hang out with you all, talk about some of the key cards in the set, rank some cards, and if we have enough participants and enough people that are willing to, we'll even do some live pod drafting of Wild of Eldraine together as a group, so mark your calendars and stop by those streams. After you've built your deck, you will then be assigned an opponent by the event coordinator and you will play out your first match. Different stores will give you different amount of matches for the event, but usually it's a minimum of 3. Sometimes you might get lucky and be able to play 4 or more, it just depends. After you've finished your matches, you may qualify for some prizes, so be sure to check with the event coordinator to cash in on your winnings. Now, the hardest part about the whole event is how to build your deck, but great news! I will now go ahead and go through an entire sealed deck build to give you an idea of what you want to be looking for from your pool of cards and how to maximize your chance of having a competitive deck for the event. But before I do, a quick message from me. Thanks, me. Set review season is the perfect time to consider supporting the channel via the Patreon. We have several tiers over at the Daily Draft Patreon with rewards including access to my tier lists, early access to content, and lifetime access to the Daily Drafters Discord server. I'm incredibly proud of the continued work on my tier list, and here's an example of what these tier lists look like from Lord of the Rings. And as you'll see, I use a traditional A through F rating for every single card. I let you know if the card has moved up or down since the last update, and I give you the ability to hover over every single card and get a link to the Scryfall, clickable link to Scryfall as well. And beginning with Wilds of Eldraine, I will also be ranking every single common and every single uncommon within their own color, as well as every single removal spell in the entire set at common and uncommon, so you have a better idea of how they compare to each other as well. I'm currently working on my Wilds of Eldraine list, as you can see, and I will have this released to patrons in the Centaur Courser rewards tier as soon as I'm finished, guaranteed before pre-release weekend, and guaranteed to be updated with my experiences during early access before you head to your pre-release. Now, if $5 is a bit too rich for your blood, we also have $3 and $1 tiers that come with early access to content and lifetime access to the Discord server, a great place to hang out and discuss all the happenings of a brand new set. If a monetary contribution is not your speed, then a subscription to the channel is always enough. And now, back to the set review content. Alright, let's go ahead and dive into this sealed deck build for Wilds of Eldraine. So the first thing I usually like to do after I open my packs when I am at my pre-release is sort by rarity. I want to see what my rares and mythics are. Now, because of the Enchanting Tales slot right here, I might actually make that its own little category on the side. You can get more than 6. You have 6 boosters, but you can get more than 6 rares because some of the Enchanting Tales could be rares, like in the case of Prismatic Omen here. However, we didn't seem to get any more than just that, so the rest of our Enchanting Tales look to be uncommon. So as we build here, I'm probably going to go relatively quickly with these cards. If you don't know many of these cards, again, go ahead and watch my archetype video and my new mechanics video so you can kind of see like how all of this works, so it doesn't sound like a foreign language to you as I go through all of this, but that will make things a lot easier. Again, there's a link in the description to both of those videos. So I usually start by sorting by rarity and see if I absolutely have to include any of these cards in my deck. And we kind of struck out. We got a land. It's a creature land, so it's kind of better than some of the rare lands we usually get. Prismatic Omen could enable some sort of 5-color thing. I'm not a huge fan of Rankle's Prank. It makes every player do the thing, and it's just not worth it most of the time. The Goose Mother is interesting. It's a good card. Not sure I'm a huge fan of blue-green as an archetype, but, you know, it's weak -1. Who knows? Sir Ginger, basically a 2-mana 3/1 that can sack to gain, like, 3 life in this format. That's about all that is. However, Spellbook Vendor is great. 2-mana 2/2 Vigilance. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you can pay 1, and when you do, you get a Sorcerer roll. Every single turn. It's just great. There's also Heartflame Duelist. It's a 2-mana 3/1. It also has an adventure that deals 3 to any target, which is also great. So these are probably our 2 best rares. We're not going to be building around bombs with this pool, but, you know, sometimes that happens. Sometimes you don't open bombs, and you got to deal with what you're given, right? Next thing, after I find my rares, I want to sort by color here and see what I've got. So I'm actually going to go ahead and throw this Duelist into the multicolor, because while we can play a 2-mana 3/1 that gives our instants and sorceries lifelink, I would love to be able to cast the adventure half if possible. I think there's a couple more gold adventures here. There's this one, and then I think there's one more in here somewhere, but we'll get to it if we get to it. The next thing I like to do is I like to go through my non-rares and see what cards are like kind of pulling me into their colors here. And Slumbering Keepguard in white. Again, I'm not going to go through every single one of these cards. That's what my archetype guide is for. So I'll pull these down here. Cooped Up. I don't mind a Return Triumphant. Pretty good. Obviously, Spellbook Vendor. We've got that in white. Protective Parents is a card I like. The Woodland Acolyte was the other one. Although it's a 3-mana 2/2, when it ETBs, it draws a card. Even if you don't cast the adventure, which is pretty darn good. And Dutiful Griffin, 5-mana 4/4 flying with upside. Pretty good. Okay. We don't have a ton of blue, but I do like the good bit of blue that we have. In fact, I like most of it, but we only have like 7 good blue cards. I wonder if that's even enough to make a deck, you know? All right, black. Here we go. The color in which I think looks the best to me early on. Hopeless Nightmare, great. Warehouse Tabby is great, but probably not going to be as good in sealed because you really have to build around it for it to be good. And Black-White is going to be its best home, and we don't really have the white cards that make the rolls. We do have Charm Clothier, Sage, but that's not a great card. Vigil could work with Tabby. I mean, there's possibility, but it's probably not as good. Let's see. Candy Grapple, one of the best removal spells in the set here. Dark Tutelage, I think, is a trap. You're just going to kill yourself with it too often. 3-mana 2/3 Menace, create a Wicked roll. That's fine. Rat Out is good. Ego Drain is only good in fairies, and unless we go blue-black, which I think is going to be really hard to manage in sealed. I don't think we're going blue-black today. So black seems like fine, but it's not the best. But take a look at red here. We have 2 Dragon Mantles, 1-mana enchantment, replaces itself, draws a card, and it has fire breathing. It doesn't get flying, but it has fire breathing. And it just replaces itself, so it's kind of free. Now, granted, they could kill the creature out from underneath you when you cast this, but that's true of basically any aura enchantment. We also have a Harried Spearguard, a card I like. We've got 2 Torch the Towers. Yes, please. We have a Frantic Firebolt. We also have Where's the other removal spell in red? Did I already pull it down here? I don't think I did. I'll find it in a moment. Here it is, Witchstalker Frenzy. 4 mana, deals 5 to a creature. Pretty easy to make this cost at least 3 or even 2 sometimes. So we have double Torch the Tower, a Frenzy, and a Firebolt already here, along with Spearguard and 2 Mantles. Pretty good. We've got Redcap Thieves, 3 mana, 2/3 ETBs make a treasure. It's not great, but it's something. Catapult much more for an instant sorcery deck. Two-Headed Hunter is probably just a fine card. Which one is this one? 2 mana, 2/2. You can loot if you control a creature power 4 or greater. That's probably also fine. Tattered Ratter. 2 mana, 2/2. We're not really doing the whole rat thing more than likely. And then a combat trick. Fine. I do see a Hamlet Glutton. This is a card I love. Stormkeld Vanguard. Another big chunky creature. Like, the blue doesn't really lend itself to the whole blue-green ramp thing, but we do have Goose Mother and Troyon here. I mean, blue-green could be an option. What's the rest of our green here? Verdant Outrider, not great. Curse of the Werefox, pretty good. Tough Cookie, I don't think is going to be for this deck. Troublemaker, oof, fine. Witchstalker, I doubt it. Season of Growth. I don't think we're doing the whole combat trick kind of thing. Prismatic Omen, we don't really want to branch out that far, I don't think. Root Rider Fawn as a ramp spell, not bad. Bestial Bloodline. It's actually not a bad card, but I don't think it's worth it. Toadstool Admirer, no. Commune with Nature, no. I mean, we could put together a green deck. We just have to put some pretty not great cards in there as well. But based on this, I mean, the first place my mind goes is red-white, which is, I think, the deck I built in the pre-release video for Lord of the Rings. But again, because we do have a creature land in red-white as well, which is pretty good. So what would this look like if we kind of started here? Double Dragon Mantle, the Acolyte goes here. Spear Guards, Ranger, Double Torch, Firebolt, Hunter, and Frenzy. This is probably more here. And then we can fill it out with, Armory Mice is a good aggressive card. Griffin Airy cares about life gain. I don't think we're doing that whole thing. Hopeful Vigil. It's a 2 mana 2/2 Vigilance with upside, kind of. I don't think the Sanctuary's for this deck. I'm not a huge fan of the Sage. Our 2-drop slot's looking okay already. Charmed Clothier. I mean, worth trying it out. Seems like a fine enough card. There's a combat trick in Archon's Glory, which I think is pretty good. Break the Spell, probably still more of a sideboard card. Twisted Fealty. Is this good enough to play without having sacrifice outlets? I mean, it could be. In an aggressive deck, it's not bad. There's Redcap Thieves, Tattered Ratter. It's just a 2 mana 2/2 in our deck. That's pretty much it. Kindled Heroism is another combat trick, fine. I mean, Sir Ginger's a 2 mana 3/1. That might just be good enough in our kind of deck. Soul Guide Lantern, don't think we need. What do we have down here? 24 cards in the deck, including 1 land, which means it would be this and 17 lands, or we added 1 more card and ran 16. I do like running 16 lands. You know me. And if you don't know me, you'll get to know that. Two-Headed Hunter. We do have some adventures. But, I mean, what mana sinks do we have? Spellbook Vendor, Cooped Up. You can sacrifice something like Dragon Mantle to torch the tower to get the bargain. We've got some role token playing around with here. This is kind of where my mind is going right now. And in Sealed is usually a little bit slower of a format. So playing these aggressive decks can sometimes be pretty good. I wouldn't fault you for going potentially blue-green. I think what I'm going to do right now, and rather than waste your time in building that deck, I'm just going to go ahead and make a cut to a potential blue-green deck, and we'll take a look at it together. So see you in a second. So this is what I came up with blue-green, and while we do have some good cards in here, we have the Goose Mother, we have Tempest Heart, which is like okay, we have Troyon, which is good, and we also have Root Rider Fawn as ramp. We have some of the good blue cards in removal, but like we don't have the top, we don't really have the ramp targets. We have one Hamlet Glutton, which is fine. We have one Storm-Keld Vanguard, which is fine. But like, what else are we ramping to, you know? And also I had to include some cards that like, I didn't really want to. You'll see I'm only not including 2 blue cards and 2 green cards to fill out this entire deck. Things like Tough Cookie, I probably wouldn't want in here. Bestial Bloodline, ideally not in here. Toadstool Admirer, not in here. Commune with Nature, ideally not. Sky Beast Tracker, we're not really casting too many 5 or greater, so you see, it's just, I think we're very, very close to blue-green, but I think the red-white deck over here was a lot more streamlined. There could be an argument to going black-red, but I think white might be our best color here, so I think white-red is the direction I'd go. So let me go ahead and snap back to that deck for you. So here is the red-white deck again, and I added, which one was it? The Unassuming Stage, which is not a card I'm super huge on, but it's another 2-drop, and they let me cut my lands to 16, including the creature land, which is something I like to do in these aggressive decks, as you'll see. So if I was at my pre-release, this is probably the deck I'd be running with this pool, and that's the kind of the thought process that I usually have around building decks in Sealed. Now, I totally forgot to mention at the beginning of this video, or the beginning of this deck build, I'm currently on sealeddeck.tech to build the Sealed pool. It's a pretty efficient way to kind of like get some practice at doing this. And in order to get the cards to put in here, I went to draftsim.com and I got a Sealed deck from there, and then I exported it and brought it into sealeddeck.tech because I think this deck builder is a little bit better than DraftSims, but DraftSims actually gives you the cards to build your deck with. So I've gotten comments on that in the past of what I'm using. Those are the 2 that I'm using here. Again, I will be participating in early access on Thursday. Stop by for that as well here on YouTube live stream, and on Wednesday, 2 days from today, we're gonna have another live stream at 9 a.m. Eastern, where we're just gonna kind of be doing stuff like this together. I want y'all's opinion on these things, and we can even get some live drafts in together via another site that we'll explore on Wednesday. So go ahead and check back then as well. Again, this is the deck we're running at our theoretical pre-release today. And yeah, that'll do it for the deck build. Thanks for tuning in. I hope this video was helpful to you and helps you build up the courage needed to go participate in a pre-release event at your LGS this weekend. If you've never been to one before, I highly recommend it. It's one of the most absolute fun ways to play Magic, and you'll meet tons of different players there. If you do end up going, go ahead and return back to this video and leave a comment to let me know how it went for you. I'd love to hear feedback from each and every one of you about your event. Thanks so much for sticking around to the end of this video, and I will see you soon here at Daily Draft.